Quiet in the, what does he say? Quiet in the court? Quiet on set. Quiet in the court. Hey everybody, my name is Reem Assil. I am the chef owner of Reem's California. We're an Arab street corner bakery based here in the Bay Area, really specializing in the warmth of Arab hospitality through fresh baked bread. I'm excited to be here with you all for the third installation of the 7x7 Spice-In with our friends at the Spice Hunter. And today we're gonna be making one of my favorite, no frills, easy to make, but it looks like you spent the whole day making dessert called Mahalabiya. It's this thick, rich, milky custard spiked with one of my favorite spices in the Arab world, cardamom. So cardamom, or hil as we call it in Arabic, is that sort of secret 1-2 punch. Just a little bit goes a long way in the backdrop. It's featured in our 7 spice mix, which we talked about in the last episode. My mom used to put whole cardamom pods in rice. We put it in our coffee. That's like my favorite Turkish style Arabic coffee. If you brew it like an espresso and just seep some cardamom in it, it's just like amazing. And today we're gonna be doing it in one of my favorite dishes, Mahalabiya. Mahalabiya is this silky milk custard that's set like a panna cotta. I always laugh that, you know, the Mahalabiya was the original panna cotta. We have the original of everything, basically, the Arab world, you know. But really, actually, I became obsessed with this dessert because I found it in this book by Nawal Nasrallah. She has this amazing cookbook if you ever want to dig into the history of Arab food. It's called Delights of the Garden of Eden, and it just traces back these desserts all the way back to even pre-Arab times in the Garden of Babylonia. And the Assyrians used to actually make this with just milk and sugar and a little bit of thickener. And then come to find that every culture has some version of it. So we're gonna be making a more modern version. So traditionally this custard is enjoyed cold and chilled and garnished with a bunch of lovely things, some ground pistachios. We're gonna do some dried rose petals. And during the holiday season, during Ramadan, they would actually cook fruit into it. So it'd be like different colored custards. But today we're gonna do it as a little bit of a deconstructed fruit compote to go over this milky custard. So you're gonna get that sort of creaminess from the custard, but then also just like a fun, light sort of fruit topping to go with it. And we're gonna do strawberries because it is summer and strawberries are happening all season. So, but you can really use any fruit that you have in season. So let's get to it. So we're gonna start with 2 cups of milk, which we're gonna pour into our sauce pot at about medium heat. We're gonna put about 1 cup of sugar. If you don't want it too sweet, you can take your sugar down. Arabs like things really sweet. Whisk that sugar in there until it's dissolved. So while this is coming up to temp, we have about a cup of cream here. And we're gonna mix a 1/4 cup of cornstarch. Now the reason that we mix the cornstarch into our cold cream is because if you pour the cornstarch right into the warm milk, it's gonna clump up. So what we're doing is making what we call a slurry. I'm just doing it in segments so I don't make too much of a mess, even though I am. You're always gonna make a mess when you're dealing with cornstarch. I don't care what they say. There we go. Just get that in there. Maybe use a larger vessel than I'm using right here. For this warm milk mixture, you can do one of 2 things. If you have a specialty grocery store, you can get rose water, which is a good thing to have in your pantry. You can like put this in lemonade, you can put this in drinks, and it has just like makes a drink Middle Eastern automatically. We just like rose and everything. But if you don't have access to rose water, you could get dried rose and steep your milk in it. Today we're gonna use rose water for this purpose of expediency. While this is coming up to temp, you can see the bubbles starting to form. We're gonna spike it with our secret ingredient, the cardamom. Cardamom from our good friends at the Spice Hunter. And pour that in. It's about half a teaspoon. This is when I know I enter an Arab household, is when you smell that cardamom. All right, so once you start to see the bubbles form in your milk and sugar mixture, that's when you know it's time to put in the slurry. And you want to pour the slurry in sort of gradually. And the reason for that is that you want to keep the cooking process going. So as the milk is cooking, the water, the moisture is evaporating, which is going to get it nice and thickened. And you don't want to pour all the cold milk, the cold cream all at once. You want to keep it at temperature. So you can see it's starting to coat the sides of the pan. So I know this thing is thickening. And this is where you wait. You do a dance. You sing your favorite Beyonce song. Do whatever you gotta do, but don't walk away. And I can see sort of the consistency starting to coat my whisk. But again, you gotta keep mixing or the milk on the bottom will get burnt. So the way that I know if it's done really, if I put my whisk on the top of the milk and it starts to leave the imprint of the whisk, that's when you know we're getting somewhere. That's where I get my buff arms, from all the whisking and the dough kneading. Of course, I got cornstarch on me. Okay, so you're starting to see the imprints of the whisk in the milk. So that's telling me it's just there. And then the other thing is like if you sort of swirl your pastry cream around, you can see sort of the milk forming on the side of the pot. I like that nice set texture, kind of like a panna cotta. In the restaurant, we actually put it in a ramekin vessel and then we flip it over like a panna cotta. Today, we're gonna do something much easier, which is we're gonna put them into nice fancy wine glasses. You can really put this in anything that you can put in your fridge and chill. I just like the look of glasses, and they're really fun to eat. And it essentially, when we'll put our compote on and then all of our other sort of beautiful, colorful garnishes, it almost looks like a parfait. So once it's gotten to the thickness of your liking, you want to go ahead and put the rose water in last. The reason for that is this is going to evaporate. So you want that sort of aromatic of the rose before you pour into your vessel. So it's about 2 tablespoons of rose water, and then we're going to pour it in now and whisk that in there. And then you really want to use a pitcher because it's going to be hard to pour right from the pot into your vessel. I like to strain it just in case any clumps sort of formed in this to give me that nice clean. And it will happen. You will get some scalded milk, because you can see on the bottom of mine there's some light brownness in there. So that's going to catch any of that. So using a strainer. Then I'm gonna slowly pour in a little drizzle. I'm kind of trying to go even because I'm gonna serve this to 4 people. You don't want anyone to feel left out that they got less. So I am going to now put these away in my fridge, and we're gonna allow them to chill. So while we wait for our mahalabiya to chill, we're gonna go ahead and get started on our fruit compote. You want to start with about a pound of strawberries hulled. These are some beautiful strawberries from a local farm called Oya Organics. They have a CSA box pickup with us every Wednesdays, and they bring us these amazing produce. And so we're going to start with that, and you can just put them in whole. Really, the wonderful thing about fruit compote is that it's all just going to break down by itself. So you don't have to slice it or anything like that unless you want to, but I like my compote nice and chunky. This fruit has a lot of natural sugars in it, but we're going to help it out a little bit because in the spirit of Arab sweets, we like everything nice and sweet. So about 2 tablespoons of sugar. I'm putting it on a fairly low heat to start with. Get my strawberries nice and coated with the sugar. They're going to start to macerate and then really start to release their juices. So you can see sort of the sugar coating. So once all of this sugar is melted and you can kind of see the gooiness, the caramelization, you want to actually bring down your heat to low. The reason for that is just like how milk gets burnt, sugar gets burnt. So you don't want to form a sticky, tough caramel. So I'm gonna go ahead and just let this process happen. I'm gonna turn it down to low. And we wait. And we wait, and we watch it, and we think, are you ready yet? All right, so I've just been babysitting this strawberry, mostly because I need some facial action happening here, but the added benefit of these strawberries that smell amazing. Now we're gonna add a little bit of our aromatics. So we're gonna go back to that awesome cardamom from our friends at the Spice Hunter, and just get that in there. It's like the minute you pour it in, you can just, that's all I'm smelling now. And then about 2 tablespoons of that rose water. So your rose water and your cardamom, those are gonna be the things that unify these dishes. So eyeballing about 2 tablespoons. 2 tablespoons according to my mom. And so you can see I sort of like my compote a little chunky, but it's thickened from the sugar and the sort of natural sugars and waters that released from the strawberries. And I'm gonna do about a tablespoon of lemon in here. So about 1 small lemon, or half a medium-sized lemon. And then I always love to put zest, sort of the oils that come out of zest. That's just another element of complexity to this really simple dish. I love the specks of lemon zest in anything. And then you're gonna put this in a container or a bowl or whatever you have on hand. And we're gonna let this cool. Yeah, this recipe is great, but it definitely has elements where you have to wait. So if you wanted to serve this, you might wanna make your compote the night before. You could do different elements on different days so that when you're ready to sort of plate it up, you'll have all your elements ready. I mean, really, like the strawberries themselves. It's so good warm. It's like a warm soup. Look at that beauty. All right, folks, we've waited, we've whisked and whisked, we've stirred and stirred. We got our facials, we did our dance to Beyonce, and now it's time to have a party. Maybe in some cases a virtual party, but if you have your favorite shelter-in-place mates, this is a perfect recipe. So I have 4 cups that have chilled. You could easily do smaller amounts in smaller vessels, but this makes a good sort of 4 servings. And we're gonna go ahead and take that. See how it's nice and chilled? It's kind of formed almost like a jammy texture to it. So we're gonna take our compote and just kind of get a nice clump on there. But I like to get enough compote to really kind of get around so you have like a nice parfait, so it's covering everything. So it's about a 1/4 cup. You know, if you get some jam on the side of your bowl, on your glass, you can give it a nice little rub, but it's still delicious, see? So we're gonna layer with a little bit more color. So a very essential ingredient in Middle Eastern sweets is the crushed nut mix. This is pistachio that comes from the Middle East, so it's really vibrant in its green color. I really love to pulverize it to make it, you can kind of run your pistachios in a spice grinder, but you wanna make sure that they're raw and not roasted. Just gonna get that nice element of flavor on top. There you go. And then if you really want to wow your crowd and you have it on hand, not a must, but get some elements of rose on there. If you have fresh rose petals, you can do that. Just layer with a bunch of bright colors. And there you have it. Mahalabiya with fruit compote. Sahtain to your health, enjoy. So part of Arab customs is that we always have to let the first person eat before we do. So I'm gonna pretend y'all are eating with me. So I'm gonna take a moment, enjoy the fruits of your labor, and let's take a bite together of this delicious dish. Scoop right down in there. Delicious. You can just see sort of the creaminess of the mahalabiya, and then it gets cut with the citrus and sort of the bright flavors of the strawberry. Everything balances together. And really, the one thing that I can taste throughout this is the cardamom. Thank you so much for inviting me into your homes this summer. I had a lot of fun doing these series with the Spice Hunter and 7x7. It's really important as we go through this time that is isolating to celebrate the parts of our culture that really bring people together. Reem's vision is really to create good jobs, nourishing food, and sanctuary for all. And we couldn't have done that or continue to do this without community support. So thank you so much, and I'll catch you next time.